Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Planet Keebler. I'm so glad you're here today. This is the channel where we're changing the world one video at a time. This is your place for positivity, spirituality, financial discipline, and health and wellness. These are some of the things that help us grow and thrive. In today's video, we'll be talking about father figures. So get comfortable, open your mind, and let's explore this topic together. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you vibe with the content. Now let's get into it. A father figure can influence our lives in meaningful ways. He might be the one who told us bedtime stories. He might be the one who taught us how to ride a bike. Or he might be the one who silently beamed with pride over a school project. When that father figure is missing, whether because of physical absence, emotional distance, or from loss, it can stir up a range of emotions like sadness, frustration, or longing. Father figures hold a powerful place in our personal stories. Father figures hold a powerful place in our society. When fathers are present, they can add a loving and nurturing element to the many titles a father holds. Father figures are often cast as providers, protectors, and teachers in a community or family. Fathers can be silent anchors in the background of our childhoods. When fathers are absent or distant, a lot of these qualities are unavailable to a community. For many, the father figure represents strength and guidance. For others, he may symbolize a painful void or a complicated presence. Regardless of how this figure appears in one's life, the emotional imprint he leaves can last well into adulthood. And often, it is the unspoken and unmet needs that become the source of lingering wounds. These wounds can come from moments that have occurred and from moments that never happened. Many of us are grieving the loss after a father's death. I recently lost my father several years ago. This was well into my adulthood. I thought this loss wouldn't hurt so much since I wasn't a child or teenager, and my father lived over 80 years. But I was wrong. It hurt a lot, and it still hurts. I still miss my father so much. It's unfair to try to compare when is the best time or age to losing a parent. I'm just happy I absorbed as much influence as I possibly could have while my father was still in my life. Losing a father can feel like losing part of your foundation. Whether the relationship was close or complicated, his absence often leaves behind an ache that words can't quite fill. Grief after a father's death is not just about mourning the man himself, but also the memories, the missed conversations, and all the future moments he won't be a part of. The world may move on, but the inner child in us all still quietly longs for his voice, his approval, and most importantly, his presence. Healing begins by honoring that space. Healing begins by acknowledging the love, or even the unresolved emotions that still linger. Grief has no deadline, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to remember, and it's okay to speak his name. In doing so, we carry him forward, not just in memory, but in the values, in the lessons, and in the love he left behind. Some of us are living with the pain of wishing your father had been more present while growing up. I'd like to believe my father was more present than absent in my life. It was those key moments that he missed that made me feel like he wasn't there as much. My father never came to a track meet or basketball game. My father was not at any graduation ceremony. My father was not even at my wedding. But somehow, I always remember talking to him after each event. Growing up with an emotionally or physically absent father can leave a quiet emptiness. This emptiness may go unspoken for years. Maybe he was working constantly. Maybe he was distant. Or maybe he simply didn't know how to show love. As a child, you may have wondered if you were the problem. You may have wondered if you weren't enough to earn his time or affection. That longing for connection can echo well into adulthood. That longing for connection can shape how you trust. That longing for connection can shape how you show love or even parent. But healing begins when we stop internalizing his absence as our fault. Naming what was missing: attention, guidance, protection. This is the first step to releasing that old ache. You can't rewrite the past, but you can offer yourself the care and validation you once craved. You deserved more, and knowing that now gives you the power to break the cycle. You deserve the father presence you needed then. I personally dealt with the pain of being denied the ability to be a present father due to a difficult co-parent. I'm not sure how many can relate to this, but this was one of the hardest pains to prove. I did not have a custody battle in court. Our separation was verbal and unwritten agreements. It was more indirect and passive-aggressive, if I may choose my words politely. One example is giving a child a choice to go to Disney World or spend a weekend with Daddy. I'm choosing Disney World all day. If we were going to alternate holiday visits and my son stayed with his mom for Thanksgiving, conveniently or unexpectedly, when Christmas came, my son was sent to a grandparent's house at the last minute. Some of the most awkward holidays were when my nephews would ask, "Where's my son?" I would have to respond sadly, "He's with his mother." One of the deepest wounds a father can carry is being kept from his children. Not by choice, but by conflict, by custody battles, or by a co-parent who uses a child as leverage. The pain of being pushed to the sidelines, the pain of missing birthdays, school events, or simply missing daily life can feel like a quiet torment. A father longs not just to provide, but to be present, to nurture, to guide. I always wanted to be more present in my son's life than my father was in mine. I never wanted to be the dad who never came around. I wasn't sure who to blame. I didn't know why I was making excuses. I remember complaining to my mother about how my son's mom was making things difficult to co-parent. All my mother said was, "Just go. Go see your son." I'm glad she said this. Somehow I would surprise my son for different school events. I even ended up volunteering to be an assistant coach in one of his basketball programs. When the role of a father figure is obstructed, the grief is layered. Sorrow for lost time, guilt for what you couldn't protect, and anger over what was taken. Healing in this space means holding on to the love you carry for your child, even when you're kept apart. It means remembering that your presence, even when limited, still matters. Above all, it means continuing to show up with hope, show up with resilience, and show up with the love that never gives up. Healing begins with compassion. Recognizing the lasting effects of a father's absence doesn't mean we have to relive every painful moment or carry that hurt forever. Instead, we can name what we lacked, release the weight of old wounds, and begin to nurture healing. That starts by giving our younger self the support they needed. reassurance, validation, or simply reminding ourselves, you are worthy, you are enough. Releasing these inner child wounds starts with one essential act of self-compassion, giving ourselves permission to acknowledge what was missing. For some, it may be the absence of emotional support, validation, or physical presence. For others, it might be the lack of safety, affection, or even simply being seen and heard. Naming these gaps isn't about blaming or staying stuck in the past. It's about honoring the truth of our experience. When we speak the unspeakable, when we shine light on the silence we carried for so long, we begin to break the cycle of self-doubt, guilt, or confusion that grows in the shadows of unresolved pain. Healing is not about erasing what happened, nor pretending we were never hurt. It's about choosing to respond differently now, with gentleness rather than judgment. It's about showing up for ourselves in ways we once needed someone else to. That might mean offering ourselves words of encouragement. That might mean setting healthier boundaries, or allowing ourselves to grieve what we never received. These small intentional acts are how we plant new seeds. Seeds of self-worth, seeds of resilience, and seeds of hope. In doing so, we don't just mend the broken parts of our story, we begin to rewrite it. Psalm 68 verse 5 says, "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling." This verse reminds us that even when earthly fathers are absent, God steps into the role with unmatched love and protection. For those who feel abandoned or unsupported, this is a powerful promise. You are not alone. God sees, fills, and heals the gaps left by others. Proverbs 3 verses 11 and 12 say, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in." This passage draws a parallel between God's discipline and a father's loving correction. It reflects the ideal of fatherhood, one rooted in care, not control. It challenges us to see correction not as rejection, but as a sign of love and involvement. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." Paul offers guidance to fathers, calling them to raise children with patience and spiritual wisdom. This verse serves as both encouragement and caution. Fathers have influence, and that influence should be shaped by gentleness, guidance, and godly love. Luke 15 verse 20 says, "But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him." This powerful image of the father running to embrace his lost son is a mirror of God's heart toward us, always ready to welcome, forgive, and restore. It's a model for human fathers, to choose love over judgment and to be a safe place for return. Malachi chapter 4 verse 6 says, "He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers." This verse is often seen as a prophetic call to restoration between generations. It speaks to healing broken relationships, both in families and in society. It's a hopeful promise that reconciliation is possible, even after pain or separation. No one knows all the reasons why fathers are not present in society. Some fathers may not like the mother of their child. Some fathers may be incarcerated. Some fathers may be down and out. Whatever the reason, it doesn't take away the importance of father figures in our community. I've seen some children act up and rebel in school and home because their fathers were not around. They may need attention. They may need guidance. Some children lose their fathers to death at a young age. Some children have to deal with their father constantly working. Taking even small steps toward healing can help us find peace and restore hope. Whether you're grieving your father, wishing he had been more present, or wrestling with the complex childhood memories, remember, it's okay to acknowledge what you've lost and still move forward into a future that isn't defined by that pain. Ultimately, the journey toward healing from father wounds is deeply personal and often non-linear. But it starts with the courage to feel. It starts with the courage to name and to nurture. Whether your father figure was absent, complicated, or deeply loved yet lost too soon, know this: you are not defined by what you lacked. You are free to grow beyond it, to water the parts of you that were once dry, and to become the person your inner child needed all along. Thank you for joining me today. Peace and God bless you all.